Let me take you back to the summer of 1989 when I was trying to get a passport to get out of Bangladesh to the US for higher studies. It was an excruciating experience. Standing in lines in front of the passport office multiple times, God knows why. Finally, I got the approval from the passport office, only to realize that I would have to get a police verification from my address. Weeks later, the policeman showed up at my home and asked for a bribe. So the belief that I had that Bangladeshi civil service was inept at its best and corrupt at its worst was realized. Got my passport, got out of the country, and vowed never to deal with Bangladeshi civil service ever again. And little did I know that 18 years later, I would be thrown back into the heart of civil service at the Prime Minister's office to lead this program called Access to Information, later renamed Aspire to Innovate, A2I for short, supported by UNDP. The first week on the job was actually very interesting and scary. I was running a workshop, 16 participants from different ministries, senior bureaucrats, soon-to-be secretaries. I asked them about their expectations because I had done a number of technology startups in the US, and my background was technology introduction in the change process of an institution, and Bangladesh government is a very large institution. So that's how I was looking at it. So 15 of them said good things. We want to use technology to improve agriculture, healthcare, education, law and order. So they represented many different ministries. The 16th person was very quiet, the senior-most bureaucrat. And I asked him, would you say something about your expectation? He basically jumped at me and barked at me, really. He said, this is all bogus. Technology for an impoverished country like Bangladesh does not make any sense. This is 2007, by the way. And he said that because your office, the Prime Minister's office, has asked me, I could not say no. So you go on with your utopian lecture on digitization, on technology, and I'll sit on the side, I'll read newspapers online. So I was quite scared, but as fools rush in where angels fear to tread, like a fool I was, I rushed in for the next 5 days. At the end of the 5 days, I thought I would take some evaluations, and the 15 people gave me good recommendations about what they learned and how they would apply technology in their respective ministries. I went to the 16th person, very, very scared what he would say. What he said changed my life. He said, listen, I've been in the service for 30 years. I'm going to be a secretary very soon, and I will retire in a few years. In the last 30 years, I've not attended a workshop where we talked about something and I had an eye-opening aha moment. You did two things, very, very importantly. One is you taught us how to draw pictures of service delivery processes. To me, service delivery meant a file coming to me, I sign off on it, send it to the next person, or send it back if I don't approve. But I never had the bird's eye view of what inefficiencies exist in the service delivery process. Second thing you've taught us is how to analyze failures. You have looked at failures of digitization in Bangladesh and in other countries. Within government, we don't analyze failures. We push them under the rug. So those were eye-opening, and that changed my life. We introduced this concept of service process simplification, really business process reengineering taken from the private sector in the US or from Japan. But I had to change the name because business did not resonate, engineering does not resonate. So it had to be service process simplification, and that resonated. That became part of what we now call annual performance agreement that every line ministry signs with the cabinet office. And it's an evaluation process. We introduced something called TCV, time, cost, and the number of visits. So that became the mantra to reduce time, cost, and visit of every service delivery. In the last decade or so, we did a calculation last year. We delivered through digitization of almost every ministry. We digitized about 2,000 services out of the 2,500 that exist in the government. And we realized that we delivered about 4 billion services, and reduced about 12 billion work days $16 billion for citizens, and eliminated 7 billion visits. The few visits that I had in 1989 would have been eliminated today if I applied for a passport. I learned two things from this process, from that workshop. One was that that guy was not really reading newspapers, he was actually paying attention. And the second was that, I asked the question, why did nobody within civil service in 100 years plus maybe, since the colonial times, ask the question that as we were adding more information from the citizens, as they applied more forms, more information to provide, why did we not take out information that was needed maybe 50 years ago and not needed anywhere today? Why are we asking the same information again and again? SPS actually gave us a massive breakthrough. The concept of SPS and the concept of reducing TCV, time cost visit, gave us a massive breakthrough. I'll give you one example. Getting electricity connection. When we started out, we had less than 40% connection of electricity across the entire country. Electricity connection would take 49 steps, basically 49 signatures, and it would take 20 to 90 days to get approved. Now it takes 7 steps, 7 signatures, and takes about 3 to 5 days to get approved. And the entire country is now under electrification. So massive things have actually happened. As we were reducing TCV, we also introduced something called Innovation Award by the Prime Minister, Public Administration Award. So at the end of every year, the Ministry of Public Administration actually awards the disruptive bureaucrats the way that they have reduced TCV. We introduced something called empathy training. We looked at Stanford Design School and asked the question, if design thinking can be used to redesign a lamp or a mobile phone, why not the same process to redesign a service? So we got a group of 30 participants together from different ministries and said that, okay, land officer, go back to the land office, doctor goes to the hospital, and find what was wrong with the service delivery process. They did not bring back much. Then we mixed them up. We basically said, land officer, go to the hospital. The doctor, go to the school. The teacher, go to the land office. In those offices, they had no administrative privilege or procedural understanding. So they were reduced to the level of a normal citizen. And they would bring back scathing criticisms to their peers, and they would work together. These workshops were so powerful that some actually broke down. They cried. They said that we didn't understand that we were making so many mistakes and we were putting our citizens through this hassle because they just did not know. It was not intentional. I remember this middle-aged doctor who went through this empathy training and went back to his constituency to find that 2,000 of his poorest families did not come to his clinic. Why? Because they were pushed out. They did not wear the right clothes, they did not have the right language, and they always would stand at the end of the line. So he created a VIP line for them. And he gave them a VIP card, not a smart card, not a laminated card, just a paper card where he would write down the medical history of the family. And they got VIP treatment. He also waived the diagnostic fees, the fees for any diagnostic procedures. That was a violation of rules. He actually violated, he did not ask for permission from the Ministry of Health. He just decided to do it. So he could have been reprimanded. Instead of doing that, the ministry actually recognized his efforts and now replicating it across the country. We introduced the concept of autonomy within civil service. We said failure is okay. The Prime Minister, the Cabinet Secretary, the head of civil service, they talked about this incessantly, that it's okay to fail. We introduced an innovation fund for people, for civil service members who did not have enough money to try out an experiment. So massive catalyzing effect. The autonomy, the feeling of autonomy gives the audacity to these civil servants to actually think differently, try out something new, reimagine their institutions. I remember 23 teachers came to us about 10 years ago and said, the way you teach us technology for introduction into classrooms is completely wrong. It's just not going to work. What you should do is to give us a social media platform customized for our needs, and we'll take care of the rest. So these 23 teachers in the last 10 years has grown their teacher base to 600,000, primarily during COVID, because they needed teacher training, and teacher training institutions were closed. So they taught each other electronically across the entire country. Better teachers taught the poorly prepared teachers. So they took matter in their own hands, and they changed their fate. When I signed up with A2I, that was a long time ago. I signed up for 3 months because I did not know what to expect from the civil service. I did not even know whether I belonged. So I spent so much time in the US, so the reverse culture shock of coming back to the country, the second culture shock of moving from startup culture to a very rigid bureaucracy of Bangladesh. I did not know what to expect. Those 3 months became 15 years. I've become like old furniture now, but I've been able to build a team which is 1/3 civil service, 1/3 people from civil society, and 1/3 from private sector who work together, fight and struggle and debate, but make really creative and innovative decisions to transform civil service. I realized 2 things, which I'll end with. Digitization effort, when you're talking about massive digital transformation, not just digital projects here and there, but massive change. 4 billion digital services delivered, that kind of change across all ministries. 2 important things have to be kept in mind. One is the political will, supported by political vision. When the Prime Minister announced the concept of a middle-income country in 13 years, starting from 2008 to 2021, the 50th anniversary of Bangladesh's birth, it was audacious. It was just unimaginable. And she said, we'll also build a digital Bangladesh. And that combination of middle-income country and a digital Bangladesh gave us that propelled us forward. The second thing is to build a culture of entrepreneurship and innovation within civil service. So of course we'll build the technology, we'll build the interoperability across multiple ministries, we'll actually address digital divide issues. But really it's at the heart of it is really entrepreneurship and innovation within civil service. We call these bold people within civil service govpreneurs or government entrepreneurs. As we look towards the future, 2041, 70th anniversary of the country's birth, to become a high-income country, we believe that it's only the govpreneurs who will enable us to go beyond the middle-income trap. Contrary to what I believed in 1998, I've changed myself, my belief. There are a lot of would-be govpreneurs within civil service. So what are we waiting for? Let's go find them, nurture them, and celebrate their successes and failures. Thank you.